Hello, this is Draco, back with more modern Merfolk gameplay, and this time around we'll be testing Chalice of the Void in the main deck for Mono Blue Merfolk, so really excited about this one. But I gotta say that something also really big happened right in the middle as I was doing this content, where we had a big news yesterday where Lurrus of the Dream Den got banned in Modern and Pioneer. And for us playing in Modern, this is of course huge. Lurrus accounted for over 30% of decks with 4-0 minimum records in modern leagues on MTGO, which means this card was a dominant position in winning decks. So I think it's interesting that they choose to ban it. It has been on the cusp of being banned for some times, and of course a big discussion point. But this also opens up for a lot of things in with regards to Merfolk. So today we're gonna see some cool gameplay where we try to test out Chalice of the Void, and we're going to discuss, of course, the Lurrus ban. What does this mean for Merfolk going forward? Which cards is going to be good in our card selection right now from our toolbox? What should we take around? So stay tuned, and we're going to have 3 cool matches. We're going to play against Glimpse Combo. Today we're going to play against Boros midrange, and we're going to play against Stoneblade. So we got a lot of cool games lined up. But little disclaimer, of course, I was excited about testing Chalice of the Void. One of the primary reasons why I wanted to test out running Chalice in the main deck is actually because the dominant deck post pre-ban was Grixis Death Shadow. Right now, it's completely up in the air, so we don't know which way it's gonna go. But that's Grixis Death Shadow. You needed to have a plan for that. So and Merfolk. I didn't have a plan exactly for that. That was a really tough matchup. But my theory was using Chalice on 1 could be the answer. They have lots of 1-drops, and of course Lurrus entices them to have a lot of low curve things on. So that's why I want to say this is a kind of broken testing, because maybe the metagame will shift entirely now, and I think many of the cards we're gonna look on here, probably I'm gonna test a lot of other different. But we have some cool matches, so let's get into it. Before, I just want to go through the deck. I took my deck with the 8 Seas effects and tried to adjust it a bit, and just put in the Chalice of the Void, cutting the Fading Hopes and cutting the Benthic Biomancers. Didn't really work out. So I actually found this cool deck from Flatnose that he ran the 1st of March. So shout out to Flatnose, you've been doing great. And he trophied with this. And this is exact list I just ran. So there's some things that are really cool here, and some things that I would run differently. But I chose to honor him and play that. The cool thing about the Chalice of the Void is that it is of course really strong to have on 1. But that's also something that when we do that, we can't have that much place on 1. So Tide Chippers is gonna go down to only 2, and Cavern of Souls can sometimes help us out by casting that anyways. This deck also runs Dismember. I think maybe Dismember could be coming back in the new meta, so it's also fun to see that here. But one of the things that I miss, and I'll come back to that, is no subtleties in the sideboard for Flatnose list. I tried to run it, but I think Elementals is going to have a stronger position, so subtleties are definitely going to be something we're going to use in our toolbox. This deck has Kira, which performed great in these matches, so look into that as well. But let's get into some gameplay. First round, in the dark, no companions. We look at this hand. Of course, great hand. You have Cavern, you have Mutavaults, and double Adept, which means that we can get it on the board fast. The only thing that could make this hand better was, of course, the Either Violent one. Cool thing here, he plays Calendar Garden plant token. This means that this is Glimpse Combo, a deck that just wants to have a lot of small, meaningless permanents in play, and then cascade into Glimpse of Tomorrow, which they're gonna sacrifice all the permanents and then put in random permanents from the deck. So they're gonna spew out all sorts of crazy stuff like Emrakuls or Nicholas Bolas or Ugin Spirit Dragons, and all sorts of strong permanents. So of course this is a bit of a scary situation, as we have no counter magic in our hand. We have no Chalice, which is great in this matchup again. But of course we didn't know that coming in. We drew the Vial. Now it's too late, so let's just get the Adept down. He fetches with his Scalding Tarn. now he can Violent Outburst into Glimpse of Tomorrow. He finds a Primal Titan and a Wave Sifter from that. We can't do anything about that, but of course, we can try to play Vaughn. This is pretty tough that he can resolve turn 3 on the play Violent Outburst in his own turn without us having. We could have had Force of Negation, Chalice. Harbinger gives us a try, so this means that we have the chance of bouncing Primordial Titan. We look into can we try to disrupt this mana here, because Harbinger is something that only is going to be run the next turn. So we're considering, should we just play Silvergate Adept? We can Harbinger next turn when he attacks with Primordial Titan. But instead of playing the Adept, we chose just to get the move on now. This means that if we draw... I see Chalice Provisioner, one of the things that they use to get a lot of permanents in play. So typically they want to get a fast Glimpse of Tomorrow active, and then they can play another one. But banning Lurrus, totally insane. I actually think it makes a lot of sense. My personal opinion on Lurrus is that it sort of breaks the fourth wall in Magic. I don't really like the fact that EDH is a completely different beast. That's fine, people can play EDH. But in normal traditional Magic, you have your 7 starting cards, you have your deck, and you're playing with the cards you have in hand, and some of your cards will give you new cards. But people unfairly having an extra card that they can just bring in by paying 3 mana, that also give them a lot of advantages otherwise. I know there's some restrictions, but Lurrus had almost no restrictions, as many decks also wanted to just play that low amount of cards. So I understand it. I actually understand them choosing to ban Lurrus. So this is a situation here we're considering what to do. They have a lot of permanents in play, only 1 card. So if we can get the Primordial Titan off board, he'll just play it again, but it'll maybe give us a tempo swing. And we can have a Mutavault activation up. So we have unblockable 6 damage, so it goes down to 7 here, which means that by having double Mutavault next turn and an extra Harbinger, if he doesn't kill our Lord, we will have lethal next turn. So it can work, but unlucky for us, he has the life link. He has the life gain from the food tokens, and all the lands he's gonna play, he's gonna get potential food tokens, which means that he'll have 2 triggers from the Primordial Titan he plays, but it costs him 6 mana to put it down. So you can see right now he have 3, and he gonna sack his treasure tokens, so 3 life. So he's technically on 10, but he can also get 2 new food tokens from replaying the Primordial Titan. So we're still a bit behind here, and we need to draw a Lord, which we would be able to vial in next turn. So if we can draw a Lord, we can vial that in, and we have Harbinger, Lord, Silvergill, and 2 Mutavaults attacking. We should be able to kill him. He plays Primordial Titan. Nothing too crazy about that. Nothing too... But he also plays the Goblin Dark Dweller, which means that he drew the Goblin Dark Dweller, which means that now he can replay Glimpse of Tomorrow. And that means that we are done for. So, bringing in counterspells, of course, for this matchup. Taking our Spreading Seas, we can't really stall him on the mana. So I think they are right to ban Lurrus, and what typically happens in these kind of situations is that the decks with the good cards are still going to play all the good cards. So we're still going to see Ragavan and Dragon Race channels. They were good even without Lurrus. I don't know about Myth of Bauble, but Dragon Race Channeler is kind of it's so strong still, especially if you can utilize it. So I think many of the same decks will be played relevantly. Okay, so this situation, great hand. We can play a Chalice, and we want to get that down immediately. This guy plays with counterspells. So let's just get the Chalice down, because it'll be a big card against him. This situation we're considering, should we play the Island to play Trickster, or should we play the Glassful Mimic to be sure we can play Svaelun? But in this situation, because he drew a Trickster, I think playing a Trickster would be fine, and we can also signal counter magic here. We draw the land, which means we can play Sverloon now. And this is one of the situations again. Is it greedy to play the Sverloon now? Because he might just have Fury and be able to kill it, but then again, he might not. And if we just sit and wait on Sverloon, it might sometimes burn in hand. This is one of the plays that's typically difficult, and it can be hard to make those kind of hard choices. They play Seasoned Pyromancer. Another card I think is going to be played a lot more now after the ban. We're going to get access to a lot more 3-drops. Liliana's probably also going to be played a lot more, because now people don't have to be limited to the 2-drops in those decks. He did have the Fury, so he did kill our Sverloon. So again here, considering, should we just play Sverloon out? Really risky again, because what happens if he has another Fury? But again, instead of sitting and letting it burn in our hand, I still think it's correct to get it out there. He might run away with the game with his Seasoned Pyromancers if we don't get it out there. So we try to play out our second Sverloon. He's looking for a Fury. He didn't find it, so now we have a Sverloon online. We find a Lord, this is great, which means that we can get all our creatures indestructible, and we can even hold up Trickster. We find another Lord, which is also not really awesome. So this game, we gotta say, Chalice has just been totally hamstringing his combo. If you noticed, he had 2 Violent Outbursts in hand, which he discarded to the first Seasoned Pyromancer, so you can see them in his graveyard. So Chalice of the Void here, mind-blowingly good in installing these Cascade decks. And I do believe after the Lurrus ban that we're gonna see a lot more Cascade decks. I think Living End and Rhinos are gonna be relevant. So make sure those Chalices are close in hand, because I think they could be really good in Merfolk. So he finds the solution, not only for our Chalice, but he can also find in Fury, but it's not enough. And he realizes that. I don't think there's much we should do differently. I think it's a great setup we have right now. Considering Kira's against the Furies. Here again, when we do Furies, we want the subtleties. I think subtleties, again, are going to be good. I think they're going to be really good, because they're good against Amulet Titan, and Amulet Titan is going to be a big deck. It's going to be one of the main contenders. It already was, and I think eliminating Lurrus is going to be just making them stronger or more prevalent and normal in the metagame. We got that one. The 4-color elemental stacks with value definitely is going to be played more. So I'm not in a second of doubt, considering that our subtlety is going to be a good card. You could even consider main decking it. I know many people already do. I normally run 3 sideboard, but some people run 4 main deck. Maybe it could be better than Force at the moment, Force of Negation, which I'm a big fan of. Okay, again, this is an interesting hand, because yes, we do have a great hand. You have Ether Vial, we have Silvergill Adept, we can board out, we have a lot of 2-1s, but we're playing against a combo deck. We have no counter spells, we have no Force of Negation, and we have no Chalice for 0. This guy, he can play 3 lands and a Violent Outburst, and we'll be done for with this hand. So yes, we can draw a couple of cards for Silvergill Adept, but we could also just mulligan and hit our Chalice, and the game would be a lot differently. Unlucky for us, we hit a no-lander, and into now something we need to keep. We do have our Force of Negation. This was of course kind of unlucky, and I wish I would have kept the original hand, but I do believe that it was still correct to consider mulliganing it, simply because if you just have the combo in round 3 and we haven't found one of our solutions, yeah, he would just win. And again, I do believe in modern, you need to be aggressive on your mulligans. Force of Negation is of course good here. He could have the combo next turn. Our issue is that Violent Outburst is really, really dangerous for us, as he can play it in our turn, and we can't use the pitch part of Force of Negation to use it for free. And Force of Negation, we can't cast it off Cavern. So we need to play the Oboro here and not the Mutavault. Of course, we couldn't have played the Mutavault because of the Lord anyways, but we need to draw blue source so we can cast the Force of Negation. This is where we just hope and pray he does not have the Fury. Never didn't have it, as we say. Of course, Fury is a great card here. Another thing is going to be important to notice with the Lurrus ban is that we also are going to see a lot more. I think we're still going to see a lot of Urza Saga decks being played. I think the Yunt Saga deck that was emerging could easily be adjusted. Renin 6 is still a great card, and Urza Saga and Renin 6 is a great combo, as you can get the Renin 6 back. Now he plays the Chalice Agent, by the way, in his own turn. He can Glimpse of Tomorrow, and we can Force of Negation it by casting it. What a great time to be alive. This feels so good because you have one more. So we just need to draw some action now. Unlucky, he can beat us down on 5 damage per turn, and we think we draw Svealoon here. So the problem is now, this Svealoon is awesome, but we leave ourselves vulnerable for the combo. He has 2 cards in hand, and I think we need to go for it. If we just waited here, he could just beat us down for 5. He does have it. Unlucky for us, he can resolve his combo. And I think this just hurts. If we waited one turn to play the Svealoon, he might have been foolish enough to go for it. But in my opinion, he should have waited if he were in that situation. If I passed with just 4 mana up, he should never have placed the Chalice Agent. He should just beat down for 5 until I do something. But again, I could have waited 1 turn maybe to draw a blue card, so I could have pitched the Force. Could be the right play. But he had 2 cards in hand. Okay, he's coming on. He's getting all over the place. And we lost this game. And he plays 1 more. You can see this deck goes off. Look at that board. And we're done for. We're done. Okay, next match. We play against this crazy guy. I like the Bad Rocker's cool image. Arid Mesa into Sacred Foundry. Interesting. Is it Burn? He plays a Ragavan. Not a great hand against Ragavan. He gets to hit us once. We choose to keep a 1-laner because of our Ether Vial and because we were on the draw. So he hits us. Don't take our top land. It's a Svealoon. This could have been game breaking if this was Murktide, but luckily it's not Murktide. This is Boros midrange. Boros midrange playing Stoneforge Mystics. They're playing a lot of cool cards. They play the tutor that can find small creatures, the 3 mana 3/3 in white. I think comes down. Oh, that's the March of Overworld Delight. So great play by him. This new March is such a good, strong card. Luckily we drew our island and we can Harbinger back the Ragavan. So now we're stabilizing. So he plays the Ragavan, and of course we're gonna see a lot of Ragavan, so that card we still gotta get used to. That monkey is still here, the pesky monkey. And he dashes it in, and then provides us the trade. I was just like happy about doing this trade. No doubt in my mind that was fine. So what I was saying, oh, he plays the Stoneforge Mystic, and I think he finds Batterskull here. No, Caldro Complete. Much better. Batterskull is annoying because you can't bounce it with Harbinger. One of the things I like about this deck from Flat Nose is that he plays with the Harbingers, as they allow us to bounce. Creatures, and then with a Chalice on 1, imagine you had a Chalice on 1 and you could bounce the Ragavan. Then you couldn't replay it. So I actually really like that part of the Chalice combo, playing with the Harbingers as bounce effects. And here we had to play the Silver Galaber to draw the land. Luckily we did. So the Moodle Vault comes out. We can use it to play the Ether Vial. He gets to put his card draw complete in and hit us for 5. But we have the answer, as the Harbinger was sitting in hand waiting for this exact play. And this is just a really great position to be in. When you bounce the Phyrexian gem token, the card draw complete is just so bad. It costs so much mana to equip that that's not gonna be ever relevant for him. So unless he has something more with Stoneforge Mystic, we are in the good seat here. We even have 2 blockers. I don't want to attack here with Adept because I just want to offer the trade with Ragavan. I just feel like I'm in control at this moment. We can soon put Spreading Seas on an island from him, put it down Ether Vial, and then we'll be able just to go to town. He attacks with Ragavan, offering the trade. I'm happy about these trades. I also want to get a Ragavan off the table. And I think now he plays the Esper Sentinel. Here it comes. Which is fine, we can still spray the Springs, he's just playing 1 more mana. Okay, so we have 2 vials ticking up now. Now one of them is on 2. It's great. We draw the Svaeloon. Really great draw. This changes our play a lot. Because now we don't want to put down the Spreading Seas yet. And we don't want to jeopardize our Harbinger. So in this situation we just want to pass. Because if he in some way find a way to kill off Svaeloon, or try to kill off Svaeloon with burn or lightning bolts or whatever, we can just put in from Vial the Lord and it will be indestructible. Notice here that he actually naturally had a Sword of Fire and Ice in hand that he could use the Stoneforge Mystic to play out. And of course that's a beating. Sword of Fire and Ice is such a great card against us. Protection from blue means that we can't block it. Harbinger can't even bounce a creature that has attack with it. And notice here that he can attack, but I still think we are pretty good in this situation. He can't kill Svaeloon, but we can't block it with anything. But by waiting here, I'm baiting him to use his damage, not on me. I'm only at 10, so putting the damage on me would be pretty good. But he puts it on Harbinger, and with an Ether Vial on 2. Notice here, I wait. I make him pay his ward trigger first, then I choose to put in the Vial. We need to get him to pay the ward trigger. Because now I put in the Vial, because let's imagine he didn't have a land, but he had a burn spell. He had to pay the ward. We need him to pay the ward, because if he had a burn spell here and played the land and paid the burn spell, and we had not forced him to pay the ward effect, he could have just burnt and paid the and shot the Lord, and then both of our creatures would be dead. Another thing, we choose to tick down up the Ether Vial onto 3, hoping to draw Glasspool Mimic, because that would be the winning play. We are not, this is an interesting situation. I'm just going to pause here. The situation is that we have 1 vial that's going to go up to 2, and we gamble takes up the another 3 vial up to 3. We have 4 Glasspool Mimic, so it's a pretty natural draw. You can draw a Glasspool Mimic. We can't have lethal. This is only 16 damage, and it would be lethal if we had a Spreading Seas in play. We can't have both. So instead of trying to put in the Spreading Seas and just beating him for 13, I would much rather forcing him to trade away with the Stoneforge Mystic. So we can play down immediately the Lord of Atlantis, the Glasspool Mimic, copying the Lord of Atlantis and attacking, forcing him to trade. He goes down to 4. And we're in a situation now where, of course, we're going to get hit by Esper Sentinel again, but he's only on 4. So he attacks it with Esper Sentinel. Here he shoots the Lord, playing the ward. And I think it's because he has the Fury he can evoke, which means it's a pretty good play for him. He needs to pay all the ward triggers, but he can give 1 damage to Lord and 3 damage to the other Lord. So he can take us off Lords But the Fury dies, and he has no blockers, and he needs to pay all these war triggers. So Ward is really strong here. And because we can violin at it end step, there's no reason to violin anything else, but he was dead. So we want to get in the Kiras. In this deck, he's have Otherworldly Light. He's gonna have Prismatic Endings and Lightning Bolts and whatever removal spells. So let's get that in. Considering here Thieving Skydiver for the Sword of Fire and Ice. But again, it's a 3-drop. It costs 3, so we need to have 5 mana to do that. It could be a consideration. We want to get the Dismember in. Not only can it kill the Stoneforge Mystic before he activated it, but it can also kill the Calvor Complete. We want to take out the Spreading Seas, of course. And we just take in 1 Miser. We take in the counterspells, and this is primarily because we don't want to have the Chalices here, and we don't want to have the Force of Negations. Okay. So we up 1-0 against the bad rocker. This is a good hand because the Glasspool Mimic will give us something to do in turn 1. He does have the Ragavan. This is also where the Dismembers could be good. Just dismembering a Ragavan is fine. So yeah, attacks in. Hits his Sverloon again. This deck cannot hit that many good things, so I'm not too scared about it. So we're considering here what to do. One of the things I like here is yes, I can play the Adept, but the Adept will potentially just get killed. And I actually like the play of just playing Trickster in upkeep. This is just a safe way of not getting hit again by Ragavan, because no matter what he does in this spot, he will not get hit by Ragavan. We will not get hit by Ragavan, so I actually enjoy that play. Maybe against especially him, we could have played the Adept. He plays the Ranger, Captain of Years, the one I talked about. It'll tutor up a 1-drop. And notice here, he tutors up the Fervent Champion. The Fervent Champion is the 1 mana haster that allows for a cheap equip. So you can equip the Sword of Fire and Ice for free on the Fervent Champion. That's why it's a scary card, because we know he's running a lot of these Sword of Fire and Ice. So the Fire and Ice costs 3 to play, the Fervent Champion costs 1. So in round 4, this can be dangerous for us, and we can't really do anything about it. So we want to be able to counter the Sword of Fire and Ice, and we could do that now, holding it up. But is he going to play the Sword of Fire and Ice yet, just without the Fervent Champion on? Maybe. But then again, if we just stay here and don't do anything, we will be under a lot of pressure. So what I'm considering here is that, what are we actually going to do? Are we going to play down, board out our creatures, or are we going to hold up counterspells? But I don't think it's the right play to just sit and hold here. So we choose instead to board a lot out. We just play out the Adept, see what we draw. Find the Warlock Grove. And we want to play the Tidechipper. Yes, the Tidechipper could potentially be good here, but he does have red mana. And especially, I just want to this situation just get a lot of creatures out there, so we can get a Sverloon out that'll be well protected. So the Tidechipper is actually just a Merfolk of the Pearl Trident in this specific situation. He attacks in with the Ragavan, easiest block of my life, throwing the Tidechipper in front of that one. Lizard Blades, great tech. I like this new card from Champion, from the Neon set. 1/1 double striker that he can reconfigure, put on the Ranger, which means that I'm potentially facing down a 3/3 double striker next turn. Luckily, I do have a 3/4 indestructible creature. And notice in this situation, I do have the Waterlogged Grove, which will allow me to activate the Mutavault. I played the Waterlogged Grove because I want to be able to have access to both Counterspell and all of the Atlantis next turn. So if I draw a blue source, I can play a blue source, a Lord, and hold up Counterspell. So it's looking good for us now. He's stalled a bit on mana. We're boarding out. We have an Indestructible Svaeloon online. So he plays down the Ragavan and the Fervent Champion. So now he's ready to go off next turn. So now we need to be able to counter his cards. Drew another counterspell. We wanted to draw an island, but let's see if we can draw one with Svaeloon. Yes, we are vulnerable to attacks, but I think we need the card draw at this point. But he evokes Solitude. We can counter it. This is actually a big misplay from him. Of course, he didn't know that we would be bringing in counterspells, but if he just did that on his turn, the Svaeloon would have been gone. And now we get to attack in with it. We find a Dismember. It was not the island, but close enough. Dismember is actually a great card to have this situation, because now if he plays down the Sword of Fire and Ice, we can kill the creature he's equipping in response. If he equips it on the Fervent Champion, we'll just kill the Fervent Champion, which should buy us a turn before he can start attacking with the protection from blue. And also one of the things we can do is we can block with Mutavaults. So he equips with Reconfigure Lizard Blades on his Ranger of Eos, so giving him a 3/3 double striker and the Ragavan. Luckily we have the Dismember, so let's just kill off that one. And of course we want to trade away again. Ragavan still having mana up to activate Mutavault if we need to get Svaeloon indestructible. We draw another Svaeloon. Push in for 3. And now we finally draw the island. This is great. Now we can put down the island. We have activation now for 2 counterspells, or a Lord and a counterspell. Considering here just to play the Lord of Atlantis, we might just need 1 counterspell this turn, but playing the Lord means that next turn we can attack with both Mutavaults and still have a hold up counterspells. So I just think this is a correct play. We still have counterspell in hand and ready to defend us. Now the sword comes in and we can just counter it. Gotta be backbreaking for him. He finally drew the solution he needed. We could have also just double blocked with the 2 Mutavaults, but he would have first strike with the +2/+2. So that wouldn't have worked. And he's pretty far behind here. And our turn we can also just double attack, double activate Woodvault, and we can hit him for lethal with counterspell up. So everything looks good here. No need to start being clever here, but I still play out the Adept, find another counterspell. I'm just scared about Solitude in this situation, and I don't have to get the kill in now. I can hold up counterspell, but we're so far in front. We could have went for the kill there, but I was just like, I don't need it now. I have a counterspell. Okay, so it's looking fine. We are now in the next round. Still no. This is the last game I'm going to go through today. This was playing against Stoneblade. This is a great matchup and a difficult matchup, and I think Stoneblade is also going to have a revival. Good old trusty combination of good planeswalkers and counter magic and removal, combined with the power that the Stoneforge Mystic and Batter Skull, stuff like that, will give you. We can play out Adept, which is again a great turn 2 play. They have a Rockring Triumph, Flooded Strand, into an island, and into Stoneforge Mystic. So we can see it's Stoneblade. Just in this situation, I now want to draw as fast as I can another land, so I don't have to use the Glasspool Mimic as a land. we don't, and then I need to play the Glassware Mimic so we can start boarding out more. Attacking before and after will never really change anything. He would never have blocked, not in a million years. And if he did, it would be fine by me. He found the Batterskull, by the way. So we know the Batterskull is coming in. Batterskull is annoying for us. But we can put down a consideration here to put down a Lord. But we could also consider double Lord. So, interesting situation. We know that Batterskull is coming in, but let's imagine that he both have a Batterskull and he have a Solitude. Then if I put down one Lord, he could Solitude my Lord and block with Batterskull, getting 4 life and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm considering a lot. Double Lord will play around that play, because then he can't Solitude the Island Walk away. This means that I'll be coming back in for 4. But a good play is also to next turn double Lord, just straight out the gates. And with Trickster in play, we have even more power. So the alternative play is to play one Lord, attack with the Adept. If he kills the Lord, we put down the Trickster and tap it, and next turn we can double Lord for, which is gonna be 12 damage. So that could be really good. Of course, he's gonna swing with Batterskull, so he won't be dead next turn, but we're back and forth this. While we consider this, I can tell you, the play I'm going for is playing the Lord and playing the Adept and the Trickster and having the Trickster up. But Lurrus ban is of course big news, and just to keep track in that, we can easily now. We attack. He put down the Batterskull. We are Light Walk, so that's fine. You can block us. He evokes Solitude just as we expected. He targets the Master. We put down the Trickster, tapping his Friction Germ token down, getting in for 4 damage, putting him to 12. And now with 3 creatures on the table, we'll take a hit from the Batterskull, so he'll go back up to 16. But we can then hit him next turn down for a lot of damage. And these kind of decks, they don't play that much mass removal, as it will also kill off their own creatures. What I'm considering here is, of course, Counterspell, Archmage's Charm, Counterspell, what it could be. So I want to consider which order do I play these cards in. By playing the land and the Lord of the Lances, the Mystical Dispute I will be able to, or the Mana Leak I will be able to pay for. It is Archmage's time, so it really didn't matter that much. The alternative play would have been just to play one Lord from the Cavern, but then we are vulnerable to Solitude. So I think it's fine just to play down both. He attacks with the Germ token, he gets us down to 14, and he's back up to 10. But we have a lot of power. This is a situation where the Muda Walls, I would love to have them. But this deck, the Stoneforge Mystic, is also, I think, going to be coming back. And I do think we have a decent matchup. But Control and Counter Magic can still have a big place. Murktide Regent, EZ Control could also be coming stronger in. I have a friend who's playing EZ Control, and his chances are just stronger now. So I actually think that now Cavern of Souls is also becoming stronger. And I'm considering if the correct number is going up to 2 at least in the main deck of Caverns. They're amazing here. He can't counter my Lords. And we get in for 12 damage now. This is lethal, though he needs to do something. Notice the attack. I don't attack for Master, because if I attack with Master, and he did have Solitude, or Otherworldly March, he could remove my new Lord I just played. And then the Master would not be able to have Island Walk. And then he could block that, getting 4 life. He would then take 9, yes, but he would gain 4 life, and he would have killed off both my Lords. So the correct play is actually not to attack with the Island Walk Master, due to consideration that he probably have a Solitude. Or some sort of interaction spell. It wasn't a Solitude, it was Otawara. But now he can't bounce the Lord from the Otawara, so he needs to bounce the Silvical Adept. And he takes 8 damage, and I can not play the Adept, but I can play Springseas, drawing a card here, and getting him, a bit off his mana. So this was just a really good play. If he was able to bounce the Lord and block with the Germ token, I think he would be back in this game, because then he would come back up to 10 damage now. we begin to sideboard. We're up 1-0 against Stoneblade. This matchup, the Chalice is not hot. It's not interesting at all. I do like the Dismembers, as they can also take down the Batter Skull. And of course, counter magic is good against a control player. Out with the Chalice, in with the counter spells. And of course, Kiraz is also great. We know he's going to play Solitude. And it's more like he has more direct 1 damage spells, not mass removal. It doesn't really make sense to play mass removal in a deck that also are playing proactively. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that kind of deck. We're going to see Urza's Saga a lot, and we're going to see the Cascade decks a lot. I think that Kiraz could be good in the new meta game as well. And I'll definitely try to be running Dismembers more. I was impressed with him here. But I don't think necessarily Chalice of the Void main deck is the right option. I think Urza's Saga is going to be a big deck, and I think Hammer Time is going to be a big deck still. So against Hammer Time you need the Thieving Skydivers. I don't know if it's correct to have the main deck. But you need at least 3 in your sideboard. Thieving Skydivers. They're also good against Amulet Titan, as you can steal their Amulet. This hand is a consideration, but we need to mulligan it. We had no good lands. This is a much better hand. Putting down the Force Negation, because these kind of matchups is typically attrition. This is just a really good hand. The Either Vile on 1. He plays down Flutter Strand. Rockrim Charm. A Triome. And Castle Ventress. So this is interesting. He plays down the Stoneforge Mystic. Him playing the Ventress is actually something that I'm looking into, saying, okay, maybe his mana is not great playing the Ventress now. Normally they don't play it so fast. So in this situation, I'm looking at my Tide Shaper and saying, okay, what could I actually get of value here by taking him off the Triumph? Maybe he has no more white sources. So that's a gamble we do here, but again, getting a Tide Shaper in play is also fine. We do another Sveloon, not hot draw, and he had a Misty Rainforest, so he could just immediately put down the Hallowed Fountain and Engineer's Explosive for 1. Not something we're excited about, because this will both be able to kill off our Tide Shaper and our Either Vile. Good card. Engineered Explosives. And he uses it as in his upkeep before I can get an activation out of my Either Vile. That's a good play by him. But it also opens up the gates for us to have the Kira down. And the Kira is looking good here, as it'll also be able to protect our Sveloons. So even though we don't have enough Merfolks for the Sveloons, we can now protect it with the Kira. We'd rather Dismember. A bit too late now, but again, this can take him off his Batter Skull when he plays that down. We are not in a hurry to get this online. We just want to play down this Sveloon. Of course, risking it getting countered, but in this situation, I don't think we can sit around and wait. We need to get it down. And of course, I have a Kevin, so he can't counter it. He puts in the Batter Skull. And now, of course, he's going to hit us for 4, going back to up to 18. But the Kira is still protecting the Sveloon, so he can't really Solitude it. And he don't have enough mana to hardcast a Solitude anyways. It could be a decent play just to get a lifelinker in, but we draw the Mutavault. So we don't have Indestructible on this Sveloon. This is of course annoying, but we do have Dismember. The problem with playing Dismember is that he's probably going to have a counterspell. So do we just want to play Dismember right into his counterspell? I don't think that's so interesting. Instead, I'd rather just want to attack with the Kira and play down the Mutavault and hope to draw a Merfolk next turn. He used the Flood Strand and he put down something from Stoneforge Mystic. This is our chance, because now he have no Archmage's Charm mana up. So I choose to dismember here, hoping that he doesn't draw another land to be able to activate the activation on Batterskull. He might be able to do that, but he plays down the Lion Sash. This is the only situation where Dismember is going to be good here, because if I don't use it now, he'll be able to counter it, and he's going to be able to equip the Batterskull no matter what. So, of course, I would have beloved to be able to kill the Lion Sash in this situation instead. So maybe I should have waited for it to come in, but then I would just be facing down a Batterskull. And this is also good because now I also time walk him. He needs to use all his mana to equip the Batterskull. It's gonna hit us for 7. We take the damage, go to 5. See if we can draw. Just an island. We needed to draw Merfolk there. I actually think in this situation we need to gamble. So we attack with the Svelun to hope to draw a Trickster or something. We drew the Glasspool Mimic, not a good draw. Here considering what to do. Maybe something about copying the Mutavault. We are not really in this. It's under pressure this game. We are dead to anything here. The plan is just to try to block with the Mutavault and see if we can draw a Lord and play Glasspool Mimic next turn. He do have a Teferi, which is not good for us. And Spreading Seas. So this is just game. Now we can't block. Going to game 3. And why we just sideboard. Nothing really we need to change here. We're just considering, is there anything we can do differently? I think this is actually fine. So let's just go for it. And this is actually a crazy game. So this one was one for the storybooks. Good hand here again. We have the vials. Again, 2 vials. Yeah, that's of course not ideal. We don't want to draw anymore, but 2 vials is actually good. Sometimes they'll use a removal spell on it in the start, and I want to have a second one. It's really good because it'll allow us to play at instant speed, and also avoid counter spells, or even for something like Kira. He has a prismatic ending, so now it's fine. But we do one more. Yeah, and here we can consider, should we just play down the Tide Chipper? So there's a consideration for a Tide Chipper Vial. That could be a play, but instead I choose just to have double Vial and see how fast we can get them up. We want to get one up on 2 and one up on 3 with Kira and with Svelun and 4 Glasspool Mimics. We want to get the Vial up to 3. This is also one of the things that is interesting with playing a lot of 3-drops, is that they become valuable with regards to having Vial on 3. Normally I run a deck where I never really put the Vial up more than 2, unless it's a specific reason. Unlucky for us, he has an Engineered Explosives again. Putting it on 1 is great for him, so now not only will he be able to kill off both our Evil Vials, this is a good play. We can't even cheat in a Tide Shaper. We draw the Mutavault, which is fine, but unlucky for us, we can't cast a Glass Spinner here. I would much rather, in this situation, be able to draw an island. But again, Mutavault is good pressure, so and playing the Lord here, we need to put pressure on the board. And also, if you want to use Engineered Explosives, he's down 2 mana in the activation. So the Lord, I was considering this should be able to survive. We didn't put in the Tide Chipper, now we have a Tide Chipper online, that's fine. We draw another Mutavault, this is interesting. We can't play our Kira, but we can activate Muda Vault and play the Tide Chipper, which is decent. This means we can get in for 5 this turn, and we can also put more pressure on the board. We start by getting in 5, getting him down to 11. And that's looking pretty good. I would have loved to be able to play the Kira at this time, because our board is vulnerable. But he's down to 10, and we have a Lord, a Tide Chipper, and 2 Muda Vaults. And the Muda Vaults are really good in this matchup. So he has a good play here. He plays the March of over the Wild Light, taking off our Lord, which is going to diminish the Muda Vaults. Glassblood Mimic is not a good draw. And I'm considering here, should I try to play that, copying a Tide Chipper 2-2? Or should I just play that so I'm sure I can get Kira down next turn and then just do the double attack? The double attack is interesting because this means that our Muda Vaults is lethal next turn. But if he finds a solution for them, we need to be able to have Glassblood Mimic down. And notice here, he plays down land and passes the turn. This is signaling, I have a Solitude. I want to cast a Solitude. Okay, Force Negation won't help me against Solitude. And Solitude is annoying because he can Hearth card it, which means he can also block. We have no Island Walk. So if I just equip, put in 2 Muda Vaults, he will just, and the Tide Chipper, he will just remove 1, block 1, go back up to 7, go down to 5, but have clear 2 of our creatures. So the correct play here is to play down the Kira first, because then he needs to play the Solitude if he need before Kira is on the table. This means that he needs to clear the Tide Chipper, exactly the Tide Chipper, and I want the Muda Vaults to be in the game. So exactly as we drew up, he had the Solitude, and now we can put down the Kira, which is going to be good and blockable. And we're considering should we attack. The problem is if we attack, we will be tapped out. He'll just be able to attack in, and now we're going to trade with Kira on that turn. If we don't trade, he'll also get 3 life each turn. Solitude having life is really relevant here. So considering attacking, he would probably not block and then probably attack back, going back up to 5. So I think it's a correct play just to wait here and instead look into trade with Muda Vault when he attacks. So he attacks. The problem with taking the damage here is that there's just too much life he'll get back. So here we need to get the Solitude off the ground, even if it means he goes back up to 7. But we do have a Kira to protect us, and we do have a Muda Vault active. He plays a Battle Skull, and this is a situation where I would have loved to be able to force that play. We draw a Lord, which is a great play. So now we need to raise the Battle Skull. We can put in 5 damage. He goes down to 2, but he has an active Battle Skull, and we don't have the possibility of playing the Force Negation. So it's off to the races. He puts down a land, he attacks in, goes back up to 6. Of course we don't block here. We draw a Force Negation, great draw, because it's a blue card. Now we can actually force something his turn. Considering here, what should we do? Of course, we just need to put the pressure on so we can raise the Germ Token. And we're going in for 5 damage each turn. And he's getting 4 life. So we are putting him down with 1 life. Now he's at 1. He uses Castle Ventress, which is where I say, awesome. Because if he had something instant speed here, we couldn't be able to counter it in our end step. But in his turn, we can force Pitch Force. The worst draw would have been a land in this situation. But drawing a Force of Negation to pitch the Force is fine. And he can go back up to 5, but we have 5 damage unblockable he needs to handle in his turn. And we have a counterspell. So it looks good for us now, even though he has been having multiple March of the Older Light, Engineered Explosives, Prismatic Ending, and Solitudes. He's really considering here. This game is intense, by the way. I'm down to 4 minutes 30 seconds. And we win the match. So great run for us today. Thanks you guys for watching. Of course, I'm gonna be doing a lot more content, especially now in the new exciting meta. How is Merfolk gonna swim through the ocean without this pesky animal Lurrus being all over the place? Is it gonna be warm waters for the fish? Are we gonna have a good time in the new meta? I actually do believe we have good chances, and I think this is gonna be a big boost to our deck. Looking into which way should we go moving forward, I do believe that this list that I've been playing a lot does have a lot of potential. We want to have a lot of interaction. I think Dismembers could be better now in the new meta. I think Unit is going to be a big player, and I think Tarmogoyf is going to be a card that's going to be relevant, and we can use Dismember on that. I think we're going to see Stoneforge Mystics a lot, and also we're going to see a lot of artifact decks. We are good against artifacts decks. We have our Thieving Skydivers, and we have a progressive activation. We have a progressive action plan. So in this new meta, I really do believe that we have a good chance in having a really good game plan. I think the correct way of going is still to play 8 Seas effect, also because we're gonna see a lot of Ursa Saga still. That card is still broken and really, really strong. And we have a good matchup because if we have our 8 Seas effect, we can run with the game. And also tempoing somebody out with the Lord of Atlantis and Master of the Pearl Trident with the Island Walk is just going to be a strong play. Svelun is still a great card, and nobody's really looking to find extraordinary solutions to her. Heated Unholy Heat was one of the big things, and who knows what that card is going to be in the future. I still think that's going to be played, but again, Svelun just looks so strong still. I think we need to bump up our cavern count to 2, because I think we're going to see a lot more counter magic. And for the sideboard, we still want to have relics for Living End and other graveyard-based decks. But the subtleties could also be really interesting. Maybe you want to put in subtleties in the main deck. But anyway, I'm so excited about the new format. I'm going to be playing a lot more with Mono Blue Merfolk, testing out which way to go. I think it was interesting testing out Chalice of the Void. I think that card could be a player, but maybe not as much now, as Grixis Death Shadow is going to be taken down a peg as the Lurrus got banned. So we're going to see how it develops. If you like what I do, don't remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be putting a lot more content out, and I also have a Twitch channel where you can see some of the raw footage from when I go out there and beat. And if you want to watch a bit more of my gameplay, I'll put up a link here to my latest video where I was trying to see if I can beat Ragavan, the pesky monkey. And of course, Ragavan is still something we're going to be able to beat, so check that video out. That was really fun. And have a good day in the Lurrus free world we're going out in. It's going to be awesome. And hope to see you back in this channel another time soon. Bye bye now.